Chen Mo travels through the world and binds to the goddess's favorability system. For every point he gains from the goddess's favorability, he will receive corresponding rewards from the system. Ding, bind the goddess. Butterfly, ding, favorability +1, obtain 1 level pill for energy storage. Trigger the hand-in-hand bonus to gain the time to comprehend a stick of incense. Chen Mo looked at the woman in front of him and exclaimed in shock, "Isn't this Queen Medusa's sister?" Keywords of the novel. Dopa starts from capturing the goddess without a pop-up window. Dopa starts from capturing the goddess, download the complete text, and Dopa starts from capturing the goddess. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Binding Goddess. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Binding Goddess. For thousands of years, the war between humans and snake people has never stopped. Although the snake people are fierce, humans rely on the advantage of the number of strong ones to force them into a place that is not suitable for their survival. The Tagore Desert. The competition has not ended, and the conflict between the two races has intensified. It's been almost 3 days now. Am I going to become the first traveler in history to die in the desert? On the rolling yellow sand, a black shadow climbed up a hill. His facial features are clear and profound, and if he had not entered the desert, his 3-dimensional features would have been as handsome as a knife carving, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes. But after entering the desert, he didn't know what he had experienced. His lips were cracked and bleeding, and his face also had sunburn spots. Chen Mo is not a person from this world, but a blue star person. 3 days ago, he was bound by the system to this world called Doushi continent. At first, he was very happy. This is a battle. As a fan of online novels, and having read thousands of novels, I am naturally very familiar with the popular Dopa Tsangcheong that once spread throughout the country. Think about that sentence. 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river, don't deceive young people into poverty. How many young people are boiling with passion? What about Xiao Suner, Medusa, Yun Yun, Xiao Yixian, etc., waiting for him to save them? After all, he is a time traveler with a system, about to embark on a life full of excitement. But soon after, he became distressed. Because the system has enabled the binding task. Goddess favorite system. You will receive corresponding rewards from the system for every bit of goodwill you receive from the goddess. The reward will be judged based on the temperament, status, bloodline, strength, etc. of the bound goddess. Currently, the host level is LV1, and only one goddess can be bound. The binding task has started. Please quickly bind a goddess with a time limit of 3 days. If the task fails, the system will automatically release it. So, Chen Mo began to search for people all over the world. In the vast desert, no one can be seen, let alone the goddess required by the system. After 3 days, Chen Mo kept searching in the vast desert, but he didn't even notice the man. Fortunately, the newbie gift package provided by the system directly elevated Chen Mo's cultivation level to 9-star Do, and also gave him a divine level skill called Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju. Let Chen Mo have the power to protect himself from being invaded by toxins during these 3 days in the desert. With 3 days and an hour left, Chen Mo couldn't help but become anxious. He has great self-awareness. Without the system, it would be impossible for him to awaken the power of the world and lie drunk on the knees of a beautiful woman, solely based on his cultivation of the 9-star fighter and a single cultivation method. At most, one can only rely on this handsome face to eat soft rice. After all, Senior Xiao Yan of the Pathfinder, there is also an old medicine expert around to guide him. And he has nothing more than the system. So, during these 3 days, he didn't go looking for food, water or anything, he just went looking for people. Heaven, earth, give me a goddess, bah, just a woman. Chen Mo roared up to the sky, walked down the sand dune, and climbed up a higher sand dune, intending to look around. As soon as I climbed up the higher sand dune, I saw a convoy not far from the right direction. Did God hear my demands? Chen Mo hurried towards the convoy. Hurry up, don't be fooled. What about you? Do you want to be beaten up? Hurry up, you and I are so thirsty. The long whip whipped on the yellow sand, making a popping sound, bringing up waves of dust and smoke. This is a group of mercenaries holding various weapons and escorting a group of snake people. Suddenly, a snake girl, whether frightened or something, fell to the ground and said to a mercenary, "Water, can you give me some water?" The mercenaries transporting the snake people had already run out of water, and coupled with the scorching sun, they felt dizzy and irritable. A mercenary was about to raise his long whip and whip it towards the snake girl when a gasping voice sounded not far away. "Finally, I've seen a living person." In the rolling yellow sand, the mercenaries saw a short-haired boy wearing strange clothes running towards them. "Big brother, someone is here," said a mercenary. "Get out of here, I'm not blind." The leader, who was called the Big Brother, was a middle-aged man with a fierce appearance and a scar on his face. He raised his big knife and pointed it straight at the young man who ran over, coldly saying, "What are you doing? Stop me." But Chen Mo ignored his words and walked directly past him to the middle of the convoy, scanning them one by one. Sleeping trough. Why are all snake women? Chen Mo looked over one by one, and there were women, but they were all snake women, which made the corners of his mouth twitch. Although I appeal to heaven to give me a woman, do you also have to give me the whole clan? What is the whole snake girl? That long snake tail, at first glance, is a bit scary. Unfortunately, at this moment, the sound of the system rang out. Ding, discover the goddess's target. Butterfly, and the host can bind it by silently saying, yes. Following the system's guidance, Chen Mo saw a woman falling on the yellow sand. Suddenly, I was amazed by her beauty. Excellent posture, delicate skin like warm jade, soft and smooth, cherry lips not pointed but red, delicate and charming like drops, 2 strands of hair on the cheeks gently caressed the face with the wind, adding a touch of tempting charm. Unfortunately, there is a snake tail. Chen Mo immediately recited silently. This is by no means greedy for her beauty, but she seems to be the sister of Queen Medusa. Yes, the sister of Queen Medusa looks exactly the same in this song of Snake Girl and anime Breaking the Sky. Of course, just like Queen Medusa. Chen Mo had watched these episodes before crossing over. Ding, bind the goddess. Butterfly. Every bit of her favor towards the host will receive a reward from the system. The system mall opens. Butterfly was stared at by Chen Mo, and a rosy glow appeared on her delicate cheeks. Suddenly, Butterfly exclaimed in a startled voice, "Be careful behind you." Originally, when the leader saw Chen Mo ignoring him directly, he couldn't help but get angry and swung his long sword towards Chen Mo. Chen Mo furrowed his sword eyebrows, and after obtaining the 9-star fighter cultivation given by the system, his various senses were greatly enhanced, and he naturally felt the danger approaching. Quickly avoiding the big knife that the leader was chopping at him, Chen Mo turned around and punched the leader's chest with all his might. Bang! I may not have anticipated this move. With a loud bang, the leader flew backwards. Chen Mo dared to break into the center of this convoy with confidence. With the help of the system, he was able to directly see through everyone's cultivation. And among this group of mercenaries, the strongest one is the 7-star Do. That's the leader who was just knocked away by him. Immediately, Chen Mo helped up the fallen snake woman and smiled, "I'm here to take you away." The hand was touched by a stranger, causing a blush to appear on Butterfly's face. Ding, favorability +1, obtain 1 pill of energy storage pill, trigger the hand-holding bonus, and obtain the time to comprehend a stick of incense. The system backpack has been distributed, and the host can use their mind to view/extract it. Chen Mo was taken aback for a moment, with a special bonus. He turned to the leader who had just climbed up in the distance and smiled, saying, "I'll take her away, don't you have any objections?" The leader said with a grim expression, brothers, kill him for me. Push book. People are fighting, I became Yunyang's boyfriend, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Promotion to Doushi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Promotion to Doushi. The leader let out a stern shout, causing the mercenaries around to charge towards Chen Mo. It's really difficult for me alone to intimidate them. Chen Mo's face slightly darkened as his gaze swept over the rushing mercenaries. These dozen or so mercenaries were all around 3 or 5 stars in strength compared to the fighters. Chen Mo has never experienced actual combat. Although he knows that in fantasy novels, a difference of 1 level is like a natural pit, he is still in the beginner stage of cultivators, so he is not sure if he can defeat these people. So, to be cautious, I still ran and said. Thinking is only in the blink of an eye. Run. Chen Mo grabbed the butterfly's hand and started running. I want to run. The leader was stunned for a moment. He was so arrogant just now, and now he wants to run. Leave a few mercenaries to guard the remaining snake people, and chase after the rest. I didn't run far. Butterfly let out a scream, her speed was not fast, she couldn't keep up with Chen Mo's running pace, and soon she fell to the ground. Chen Mo's face changed and he quickly stopped. Are you okay? Don't worry about me, you go quickly. Butterfly couldn't figure out why this human was saving her, but as the mercenaries were about to catch up, she didn't want to implicate him and let him leave. I said, I will take you away. Finally bound to it, Chen Mo will not miss this opportunity. However, the snake tail of the butterfly is too long, and Chen Mo also finds it difficult to carry her. It seems that we can only fight now. Chen Mo took out the newly obtained energy accumulating pill from the system and threw it into the import. Suddenly, Chen Mo felt that his strength had increased significantly. Accumulated power pills can enhance an individual's strength to a certain extent. Ding, good impression +2, obtain 1 second grade pill healing pill. Chen Mo's words moved Butterfly very much. Realizing that this human is different from the one who caught her. He is a good person. Ding, favorability +1, get some favorability coins. Chen Mo was stunned for a moment, how could he feel even more favorable? Is it because of my handsome face? But what is this favoritism coin? Without giving Chen Mo too much time to think, the mercenaries had already surrounded the two of them. Take action, kill that kid, be careful not to hurt that snake girl for me. She's worth more than your lives. The leader held a big knife and waved his hand coldly, shouting coldly. Yes. Upon hearing the leader's order, more than 10 mercenaries behind him immediately divided into 5, and then fiercely attacked Chen Mo and the other 2. Chen Mo took a deep breath. Before crossing over, he was a sophomore student who had studied several moves in the school's taekwondo community. Although it was just a show, he also knew a few moves. Bang! His gaze swept over the 5 mercenaries rushing towards him, and Chen Mo dodged the weapon wielding it. With a sweep of his leg, he kicked it heavily. The slightly sluggish fighting energy flowing within the body is also surging like a tide, crazily surging in the thigh meridians at this moment. Bang bang bang. The strength of the 9-star fighter was fully mobilized, and 5 mercenaries were immediately kicked out. 9-star fighter. The leader's face darkened as he didn't expect the young man in front of him to look so young and possess such strength. Don't leave your hands, let's go together. The leader waved his hand and asked everyone to go together. Be careful. Butterfly worried. Watching the mercenaries rushing towards him from all directions, Chen Mo let out a light breath and his face became solemn. But soon, he had a movement. He bent down, grabbed a handful of yellow sand and threw it out, then threw his fist at the first few mercenaries who were charging in front of him, throwing it in their faces. Click. One of the mercenaries' facial bones were directly smashed down by Chen Mo, and their body fell to the ground, howling in sorrow. Quickly, the mercenaries who rushed ahead were beaten to the ground by Chen Mo. Yellow-level beginner fighting skill, blood-drinking mad blade. The leader seized the opportunity and launched a surprise attack, unleashing a stunning burst of blood with his big sword, charging towards Chen Mo. "Be careful behind you," Butterfly screamed loudly. Upon hearing this, Chen Mo quickly turned around to dodge, and then his pupils shrank. The bloody blade of his sword directly brushed against his face, causing him to sweat a layer of cold sweat all over his body. If he hadn't dodged in time, he would have gone to see the king of hell with this knife. This is the first time in Chen Mo's life that he feels death so close. "Be careful," the butterfly screamed again. As Chen Mo turned around and snatched the sword from the leader, one of the mercenaries who had surrounded him struck him on the back. The clothes were directly torn, and the pain like cutting flesh almost made Chen Mo fall to the ground. Chen Mo felt a burning pain in his back. "Are you okay?" Seeing Chen Mo injured, Dai immediately became nervous. He was injured to save himself, and it was himself who caused him trouble. Butterfly's eyes were moist and she loudly said, "Hurry up, don't worry about me." "Huh, if you want to leave, it's too late. Kill him for me." The leader shouted sternly, and all the mercenaries followed suit, including himself. But Chen Mo was stunned for a moment. Because at the moment when Butterfly said to let him go quickly, the system's prompt sound came on. "Ding, good impression +10, gain 1 level of cultivation improvement." Suddenly, a tremendous energy poured into Chen Mo's body, like a warm current flowing through without any side effects, directly elevating the strength of Chen Mo's 9-star Do to 1-star Doushi. This was an instant, and nothing unusual happened. The leader and his team did not see Chen Mo breaking through. A bunch of miscellaneous people, "It's my turn." Watching the mercenaries rushing towards him, Chen Mo's fighting spirit began to surge rapidly under the urge of killing intent. On the surface of the body, the black and white fighting spirit gradually breaks through the body, and finally forms a thin black and white fighting spirit veil outside the body. The energy gauze that catalyzes Doushi into attachments is a symbol of Doushi's strength. This energy gauze not only enhances the owner's defense, speed, and attack, but also better absorbs energy from the outside world. When the leader saw Chen Mo's sudden change, it was already too late. Bang bang bang. Between the lightning and fire, all the mercenaries, including the leader, were beaten to the ground by Chen Mo. "Did you hide your strength?" The leader spat out a mouthful of blood, and he never imagined that Chen Mo had broken through to the Doushi cultivation in an instant, thinking that he was just hiding his strength. Chen Mo did not answer the leader's words, but picked up a large knife that had fallen to the ground and walked slowly towards the leader. The leader's face changed greatly and he said, "What do you want to do? What do you think? Do you want to kill me? Didn't you just want to kill me?" "I was wrong, please spare my life, sir. Please let me go," the leader quickly begged for mercy. "Do you think it's possible?" Chen Mo continued to approach with a big knife. But at this moment, Butterfly stood in front of him and timidly said, "Can we not kill anyone?" Chen Mo was stunned for a moment, but soon remembered that her character in the anime was kind, and it was because she couldn't bear to kill. Then, during the clan ritual, she cast the space forbidden spell and left the snake race. "Okay," Chen Mo said. "Ding, favorite +1. Get 1 favorite coin." A smile appeared on Butterfly's face. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. The Butterfly with Amnesia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. The Butterfly with Amnesia. Afterwards, Chen Mo untied the iron handcuffs on Butterfly's hand and rescued all the snake people who were with Butterfly. During this process, Chen Mo obtained 3 goodwill coins from the Butterfly. "Thank you for saving me." Dai officially expressed her gratitude to Chen Mo. Butterfly is wearing a red bra, a short skirt, and her skin is as white as jade, delicate, revealing her smooth fragrant shoulders, collarbones, and a dark golden pendant around her neck. Seeing Chen Mo staring straight at him, a blush appeared on Dai's face as she was about to ask him why he had saved her. Chen Mo furrowed his sword eyebrows, with a hint of pain in his eyes and eyebrows. Seeing this scene, Dai remembered that Chen Mogang had just been stabbed and worried, "Your injury. It's not suitable to stay here for a long time. Let's leave here first," Chen Mo interrupted Butterfly's words. According to the plot in the anime, many people are having butterfly ideas, and according to the development of the plot, Queen Medusa and Hippodon are probably coming soon. Not long after the two of them left, a huge object appeared in this yellow sand. A mercenary who was knocked unconscious by Chen Mo just got up and saw the huge object first, exclaimed in surprise, "Boss." The healing leader heard the sound and looked over. In the distant yellow sand, a huge creature slowly walked over. This is a monster about 10 feet tall, resembling a turtle. It carries a water wheel behind it. On his back sat a figure dressed in a linen robe. "Brothers, it's water." The leader stopped healing and walked up, stabbing the water cart with a knife. A large amount of water flowed out, and the leader took a big sip. "Selling water, we need your cart of water." The figure of Ma Pao didn't speak, but walked down from the monster that looked like a turtle, scanning all the mercenaries present. Seeing that they were all injured, their faces immediately became solemn. However, seeing the figure of Ma Pao not speaking, the leader immediately became angry. He had already been unable to vent his anger and immediately ran towards him. At the same time, he shouted sternly, "Selling water, I'm talking to you. Do you hear me?" As the words fell, the leader's hand also patted the shoulder of the figure in the robe. In an instant, the whole world fell silent. As if time had come to a standstill. With a gentle breeze howling past. Bang! An invisible wave of energy erupted from the figure of Ma Pao, and the leader was directly blasted out. After landing, the entire body quickly formed into an ice block and vitality dissipated. "I hate people touching my body the most." The hemp robe fell off, revealing a luxurious blue robe. Cold words spewed out from his mouth. This is a middle-aged man in his 30s, with a slightly weathered complexion and messy hair. The other mercenaries of the boss immediately panicked and they saw the leader's death. The man looked at one of the mercenaries and said indifferently, "Let me ask you, how many snake girls are you transporting?" The mercenary's voice trembled as he said, "I've been saved." "Where have you been?" "South, to the north." The scorching sunlight splashed down from the sky, baking the earth beneath my feet and emitting a suffocating heat. "Sha sha." A burst of footsteps sounded. "Why do we have to go back and how long do we have to go? I'm almost exhausted." The non-stop rush made the already dry-mouthed butterfly feel a bit exhausted. That group of mercenaries saw in which direction we were heading, and in order to avoid revealing our tracks, they had to go in the opposite direction. Chen Mo was also almost exhausted. He placed his hand on top of his eyes and looked into the distance, saying, "There's a shady place there. Where should we go and rest?" After speaking, Chen Mo turned back and extended his hand to the butterfly, "If you can't walk anymore, I'll help you." Chen Mo never misses any opportunity to earn favorable feelings. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Butterfly's heart moved, but when she saw the ferocious wound behind Chen Mo, she hesitated and said, "It's okay, let's go." To prove that she really can, she walked ahead of Chen Mo. Chen Mo followed behind. Not long. The two of them arrived at the so-called cool place. These are 2 huge rocks, and there is a block in the middle that cannot be exposed to sunlight, so it presents a cool area. The two of them almost sat down paralyzed at the same time. Then Dai immediately looked at Chen Mo's wound and said, "Let me help you treat the wound." Chen Mo did not refuse. He took out the obtained healing pill from the system and handed it to the butterfly, saying, "Crush it and apply it to my wound. Fushan Dan has a good therapeutic effect." Butterfly nodded and slowly took off the short sleeves worn by Chen Mo. The knife wound is nearly 20 centimeters long, and you must take off your clothes to see it. Chen Mo was at the mercy of butterflies. Suddenly, Chen Mo took a cold breath in pain because his clothes had already been stained with the blood and water from the wound. When he took them off, it was inevitable that he would tug at the wound. "I'm sorry, I hurt you. I'll be more careful later," Butterfly apologized. Chen Mo was taken aback. "Oh, this terrible line, it's okay, I can't hold back," Chen Mo said. The butterfly continued to shed, and this time, she was very careful and quickly took off Chen Mo's white short-sleeved shirt. "Ah, this injury!" Butterfly exclaimed in surprise and quickly covered her mouth with her jade hand. The wound was not deep, but it looked horrifying and scared the butterfly. "At the same time, I feel increasingly guilty in my heart. He suffered such a serious injury because of me. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. What's wrong?" Chen Mo didn't expect to gain favor even this way, considering the damage value. "It's nothing," Butterfly decided not to tell him for now, and then squeezed the pill in her hand into powder and sprinkled it bit by bit on the wound. The intense pain made Chen Mo grit his teeth. Seeing Chen Mo's expression, Dai felt even more guilty and couldn't help but say, "What's your name?" "Ah," Chen Mo hesitated for a moment and quickly replied, "Chen Mo, the ink of pen and ink." "What about you?" Although the system informed her of her name, Chen Mo still casually asked. She paused for a moment, but soon tore Chen Mo's clothes into strips and helped him wrap them up. She lowered her head and said, "I don't know, since I woke up that day, I haven't remembered anything." "Have you lost your memory?" Chen Moming asked knowingly. In the anime, she has the same level of cultivation as Queen Medusa, but after escaping from the space-forbidden spell, she lost her memory and was caught by a group of minions. Butterfly tied a beautiful bow behind Chen Mo and smiled, "The wound has been treated." "Chen Mo, thank you." "Where, it should be me thanking you." Chen Mo remained silent. Butterfly then said, "By the way, I don't know why you want to save me yet." Although she didn't remember anything, she subconsciously told her that humans have a bad attitude towards snake people. "I said it's fate, do you believe it?" Chen Mo wouldn't tell her that he wanted to pull her wool, but casually fabricated a reason. "Believe it," Butterfly blurted out without any hesitation. "Since you can't remember your own name, shall I give you a name for now?" "Okay. From now on, I'll call you Butterfly. The butterfly of the free butterfly." End of this chapter. Chapter 4. My Damn Charm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. My Damn Charm, Free Butterfly. Butterfly was taken aback, as if some images flashed through her mind. "It's called shying, but I call it the free butterfly. It can fly freely from birth, just like you, free from the fate of being caught. From now on, you can also live freely." Chen Mo had a smile on his mouth, and these were the lines of the butterfly in the anime. He just repeated them. Butterfly's heart beat for a moment, feeling that the words seemed familiar and touched something. She softly said thank you again. Chen Mo smiled slightly and said, "Let's take a break for a while. We'll have to hurry on our way later, looking for water and food." Chen Mo's mouth was already dry and his tongue was dry. Butterfly smiled and glanced at Chen Mo, nodding. During his break, Chen Mo started researching the system and first checked his own attribute panel. Name: Chen Mo, race: human race, cultivation. Doushi Xing, host level. LV1, 20/100, binding goddess. Butterfly, favorite, 20, favorite reaches 100, can become a Taoist couple, and rewards will be more abundant at that time. Practice. Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju, skill. None, bloodline. Normal, favorite coin. 7. Simple and clear, easy to understand. But becoming a Taoist couple. There's something wrong with the system. Ding, regarding this point, the system is reflected based on the host's inner thoughts. Chen Mo. Okay, it's me that's not right. Chen Mo used his mind to click on the good feeling coin and wanted to know what it was. The system quickly explained that favoritism coins can be used to exchange various heavenly and earthly treasures, martial arts and combat skills, and divine weapons and swords in the system mall. Chen Mo opened the mall again and glanced at it. Discovering that the lowest level of yellow level primary combat skills require 5 favoritism coins, I suddenly vomited blood. The basic combat skills of Xuanjie require 30 favorable coins, which is 6 times more. Chen Mo only glanced at the long string of zeros behind him and didn't continue to read. One word, poor. I originally wanted to see if there was any water or food that could be exchanged, but I found out that there was none at all. Chen Mo also discovered that this system actually sells repair kits. For example, at the level of a fighter, a liking coin can be upgraded by 1 level. But if a fighter wants to rise from 1 star to 2 stars, they need 2 goodwill coins. If you want to upgrade from 2 stars to 3 stars, you need 3, increasing in order. At the level of Doushi, it's different again. It has doubled several times, and from the initial Doushi 1 star to Doushi 2 star cultivation package, you will receive 31 favorable coins, and then 2 favorable coins will be added for every 1 star increase. For those at the level of Big Dipper, it is doubling above the level of Big Dipper. And so on. Chen Mo exclaimed in his heart, good guy. It seems that we need to find a way to lick it. Pooh, please butterfly. Dai didn't know how Chen Mo was trying to lick herself well, but lowered her head and secretly glanced at Chen Mo. Perhaps it was because Chen Mo saved himself, and now Chen Mo cannot showcase his most handsome scene. In the eyes of a butterfly, its eyes are as clear as crystals immersed in water. The pure pupils and the enchanting eye shape blend wonderfully into an extremely beautiful scenery, with thin lips and a pale color like water. Butterfly was thinking to herself that the reason why she believed him so easily was also related to his appearance. Thinking about it, the corner of his mouth slightly curled up. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. While Chen Mo was studying the Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju, suddenly the sound system beeped and he found that his liking value had increased slightly. Chen Mo looked at the butterfly with some surprise. Butterfly looked over at Chen Mo, as if she had done something wrong and been discovered. She blushed and lowered her head even lower. Then he picked up a small stone and knocked over a passing ant. Chen Mo. My damn charm. Chen Mo found that Butterfly's favor was easier than he had imagined. Also, in the anime, Butterfly and Haiba Dong only got along for a long time, and Butterfly fell in love with Haiba Dong. It seems that not only can I rely on her to become stronger, but perhaps I can also hold on to a beautiful woman. Such a beautiful woman, if it were any man, no man would be interested. Pooh, despicable. After a while of contemplation, Chen Mo continued to study the Tai Shang Hun Yuan formula. The world is dark and yellow, which is the level determined by Duki continent for martial arts and combat techniques. According to the system's level, the Kotai Hun Yuan Ju is a divine level, far exceeding these 4 levels. According to the description of the Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju, Chen Mo can cultivate any attribute of combat skills. In the original work, compared to Xiao Yan, although he can cultivate the 3000 thunder movements of the thunder attribute, compared to the fire attribute, the cultivation of the thunder attribute is slower. The Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju does not have this problem. In addition, the Supreme Hunyuan technique can also cultivate spiritual power and has a great effect on suppressing the soul. The system is amazing. Chen Mo didn't expect this newbie gift pack to be so thick. After studying for a while, Chen Mo's thoughts returned to reality. Rest well, we should start now, Chen Mo said to Butterfly. Although this cool place can reduce the evaporation of body moisture, it is too unsafe. After all, people who want to catch butterflies have several waves and must find a safe place to hide before speaking. Of course, under this premise, it is necessary to find a certain amount of water and food. But your injury. Dai was worried about Chen Mo's injury. It's okay, let's go. Chen Mo reached out his hand and pulled the butterfly up. Fortunately, Chen Mo didn't miss seeing Mr. Bei before crossing the border. I know, to find a water source in the desert, one is to search for traces of wild animals. The second is to search for vegetation, dense vegetation, and the survival of most trees cannot do without water. The third is to search for a canyon and find a dark, low temperature, and low terrain area. Then it's about finding flowing or dry riverbed. In short, there are many ways, but finding them is not as easy as imagined. It was not until it was almost dark that Chen Mo finally found a water source. In a deep canyon, there is a flowing underground river. This was only discovered by Chen Mo when he heard the sound of water and chiseled open the rock wall below. You drink first. Chen Mo held a splash of water in both hands and handed it to the butterfly's mouth. The position where the two are standing is a bit high from the underground river, and the water in the river is turbulent, which is inevitably a bit dangerous for the current butterflies. So, Chen Mo could only climb down the rock wall, then pick up a splash of water and jump up. Thank you. Seeing Chen Mo injured and still thinking about herself, Dai couldn't help but feel a little moved in her heart. And when he went down, he specifically washed his hands. Butterfly looked at Chen Mo's clean palm and felt a warm current flowing through her heart. However, after all, drinking water in his palm made him blush uncontrollably. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Ding, gain special bonus and time to comprehend a stick of incense. The system's prompt sounds echoed in his mind one after another, and he felt the butterfly's red lips touching in the palm of his hand. Unexpectedly, ripples welled up in Chen Mo's heart. Are you still thirsty? Chen Mo asked after seeing the butterfly finish drinking. This article tends to be slow and hot. Currently, we are going through the signing process, and after changing to the signing status, it will be updated twice a day. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Wings of Kunpeng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Wings of Kunpeng. Butterfly nodded awkwardly. Wait for me. Chen Mo slid down the rock wall again. The ground below the underground river was very damp, and Chen Mo was also afraid of falling into it. After connecting and wiping it twice, the butterfly expressed that it was not thirsty anymore. Thank you. Butterfly crossed her hands behind her and said shyly. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Don't be polite to me. Chen Mo glanced at the dark sky outside the canyon and said, this place seems pretty good. It's close to the water source, and just now I saw fish and shrimp inside the hidden river, so don't worry about the food. In the next few days, we will all have to stay here and wait for the storm to calm down before going out. There's a saying that Chen Mo didn't say, if a butterfly doesn't show up for a day, the Tagore Desert won't be calm for a day. The so-called staying here is nothing more than an excuse, just to better catch the wool of butterflies. Ah, good. Dai stared blankly at Chen Mo and then nodded. Seeing that the sky had completely darkened, Chen Mo lit a small fire inside the canyon, and it was a cave inside the canyon. The light of the fire could not be seen outside. And with the cover of night, the smoke emitted is not easily exposed. Chen Mo put in a lot of effort to catch 2 fish from the hidden river, pass through the dry branches, and grill them on the fire. Outside the canyon, the roar of various warcraft beasts and the howling sound of strong winds combined, echoing incessantly. In the canyon cave, a solitary man and a widow lived together in a room, facing each other through a firelight. Neither of them spoke, but their hearts were not calm. Z. A spark ejected from the fire, and Chen Mo flipped over the grilled fish. Soon after, a fragrance of fish wafted out, and Chen Mo took the lead in saying, "The fish is grilled. You can eat it first." Chen Mo handed the grilled fish to the butterfly. Butterfly flicked her hair against her face and added firewood to the fire, saying, "I'm not hungry yet. You can eat first. You're a wounded soldier." Chen Mo glanced diagonally at the butterfly, picked up the unripe fish, and then stood up and walked over with the grilled fish. Without hesitation, he grabbed the butterfly's jade hand and forcefully stuffed the grilled fish into her hand, saying, "You don't need to be polite to me if you say it, and I have it there. It's just not cooked yet." Seeing Chen Mo's domineering scene, I felt the warmth conveyed by his grasp, and Butterfly's face instantly turned red and hot. Then, without leaving any trace, he broke free and sat on the side with the grilled fish, lowered his head, and started eating it in small bites. Ding, favoritism +3, obtain 3 favoritism coins, trigger hand holding bonus, and obtain yellow level advanced flying combat skill. Kunpeng wings, can be advanced, Chen Mo raised his eyebrows, and this was the second time he had triggered the hand holding bonus. He communicated with the system in his mind, "What is the hand holding bonus?" Hand holding bonus is one of the intimacy bonuses, which includes kissing bonus, hugging bonus, etc. Triggering intimacy bonus can earn additional rewards. The system quickly provided an explanation. Upon hearing these words, Chen Mo's eyes couldn't help but widen. A bold idea emerged in his mind. "Of course, it's just an idea, system, can this Kunpeng's wing be advanced?" Chen Mo couldn't help but feel a little excited. In the original work, in order to fly above the ground, only strong individuals above the level of Do Ling are able to make a brief flight. After reaching the level of Do King or Do Emperor, they can use the released Do Qi to condense into energy wings behind their backs, allowing them to break free from the constraints of the earth and soar into the clouds. Besides these, to enjoy flying, only those precious flying skills can achieve it. The host can view it on their own. Chen Mo clicked to view. Then it was discovered that the called advanced means spending goodwill coins to upgrade. For example, the current Kunpeng wings are of the yellow rank advanced. Spending 10 favoritism coins can upgrade to the Xian level junior level. Chen Mo currently has 15 favoritism coins, and immediately silently upgraded them. In just an instant, Kunpeng's wings rose to the level of Xuanjie Jr. This flying combat technique is a means for Chen Mo to save his life, and in this regard, Chen Mo certainly cannot be stingy with favorable coins. "What's wrong with you?" Dai saw that Chen Mo didn't go over, but instead stood still, puzzled. "It's okay." Chen Mo regained his composure and returned to the opposite side of the butterfly, grilling the fish. While Chen Mo was seriously grilling fish, Dai ate the fish and secretly looked at Chen Mo. Seeing the robust and masculine body of the young man, the blush on his face that had not yet dissipated became even more vivid. After finishing the grilled fish, Butterfly added firewood to the fire, and then intended to talk to Chen Mo, only to find him sitting cross-legged, his eyes tightly closed, as if practicing. It's better not to disturb him anymore. The butterfly snake's tail curled up and she lay down curled up, with her hands resting under her head. Her beautiful eyes, shining through the flames, looked straight at Chen Mo's face. In the quiet cultivation, Chen Mo's mind sank into his body. When his cultivation reached the level of Do, he was able to focus on the cyclone and see his own cyclone clearly. Due to his martial arts, his cyclone and the fighting spirit condensed inside his body are both black and white, like a chaotic scene. After regulating his essence to normal, Chen Mo extracted the wings of Kunpeng for cultivation. First, cultivate the life-saving skills well before proceeding. A memory surged into Chen Mo's mind. Suddenly, a stunning scene emerged. This is a huge Kunpeng, about 10,000 zhang in length, with its wings spread out, and it soared 90,000 miles into the sky in the blink of an eye. Chen Mo took a cold breath. But the next moment, a huge pain struck from behind Chen Mo, as if someone had implanted something in his back. The piercing pain made Chen Mo instantly howl. Upon seeing this scene, Butterfly stood up in panic and came to Chen Mo's side, nervously saying, "What's wrong, what's wrong? Is the wound cracked?" Watching Chen Mo's face bulging with veins and constantly sweating in cold sweat, Dai couldn't help but become anxious. However, with amnesia, she couldn't find a good solution for a while and couldn't help but sob in her heart. "What should we do? What should we do? You can't have anything to do." Butterfly touched Chen Mo's body, feeling even hotter, but looking at the pitch-black river, she found herself completely helpless. "I'm really useless." She, feeling remorseful, gritted her teeth and sat down, holding onto Chen Mo's waist, pressing her entire body against his back. "This is the only way she can think of it, I don't know if it will work." Chen Mo was unaware of the excitement caused by the butterfly, as his consciousness was fighting against the lingering soul of the Kunpeng that flooded into his mind. The remaining soul of the Kunpeng was like a diamond, fiercely pounding his brain. This was just an upgrade to the Xian level, and if he were to level up again, Chen Mo didn't know what kind of punishment he would suffer. The first time he was attacked by his soul, Chen Mo trembled all over and his face went blank. Chen Mo quickly activated the Supreme Mixed Yuan technique to resist. Chen Mo didn't know how long this confrontation would last, as his consciousness became increasingly blurred. Later on, he fainted directly. Vaguely, he seemed to hear a woman crying incessantly in his ear. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Successful Cultivation of Kunpeng Wings. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Successful Cultivation of Kunpeng Wings. Look what good thing I've caught. Pop. Get out of here, you dare to grab my things too. I discovered it first. You fart, she's mine. Come back, you stinky girl, you dare to run. The butterfly suddenly woke up from its sleep and scanned the surroundings, only to find a dimness. The fire burning in the cave was also extinguished. Suddenly, she found herself holding a warm and robust body. Between breaths, all the scent is of a man in his arms. Ah, how could I fall asleep? Butterfly patted her forehead with self-blame, then looked at Chen Mo in front of her, and her body temperature returned to normal. Butterfly immediately breathed a sigh of relief and, with the help of a faint light, examined the wound behind him. She found that the knife wound had healed and was not inflamed. Butterfly wiped the cold sweat on her forehead due to nightmares, and a smile appeared on her face. She didn't hold Chen Mo anymore, and when she saw that he hadn't woken up, she left the cave. I found a place in the canyon, held my hands tightly, looked at the bright moonlight in the sky, and whispered, "Who am I?" Somewhere in the desert. A tavern built on a cliff. Even the famous Ice Emperor couldn't find the whereabouts of the snake woman. In the room, the lights flickered, and the speaker was a middle-aged fat man wearing a gorgeous brocade robe and with a face full of flesh. At this moment, his face was smiling, but in that smile, it looked like sarcasm. The snake girl was rescued by someone, and I searched south for a day based on the clues, but did not find her whereabouts, said Haiba Dong. Oh, have you been saved? Is there anyone else who can save you under the command of the Ice Emperor? The person's smile added more sarcasm. He saved the person ahead of me, I just came over to say something to you. Don't worry, within the 2 terms of the contract I will bring the snake woman in the painting. Haiba Dong furrowed his brow lightly, and as he turned to leave, he added, next time you talk to me like this, I'll twist your head off and use it as a urinal. Even if you're a partner of the middle family. After speaking, the wine jug in front of the middle-aged fat man's table instantly froze into ice cubes. The middle-aged chubby man immediately shuddered, so scared that he couldn't say a word. Not long after Haiba Dong left. A black shadow swept through the window into the middle-aged fat man's room. The middle-aged fat man was about to call when the dark figure spoke up, "Where have you been?" The middle-aged chubby man was taken aback and noticed that the black figure was wearing a white mask. "The guest is a bit unfamiliar with what you're saying," he said. "Wow." Before he could finish speaking, the dark figure lifted its hand and shook it, revealing a portrait in front of him. He understood that this person was related to his employer and said, "Why don't you see the person I usually contact?" Once again, "Where has the person gone?" The middle-aged man didn't get angry either and said, "Goods, on the way. Besides, the time we agreed on hasn't arrived yet. Please wait a moment, dear guest. Tell me their location." "Hey, this is not in accordance with the rules." The middle-aged chubby man turned his chair, turned his back to the dark figure, and spread out his hand, saying, "I hired the most valuable powerhouse in the Gamma Empire. There has never been a record of mishandling, but..." As his words changed, the middle-aged chubby man turned his chair again with a smile on his face and greedily said, "If you're willing to add 20 more snake-maid servants, maybe I'll reconsider." The black figure nodded slightly. Upon seeing this, the middle-aged chubby man burst out laughing and his face trembled with fat, saying, "Refreshing. There was a small accident during the day, and the snake girl was rescued by someone. However, your esteemed guest can rest assured that we will accelerate our efforts to find her. Once discovered, we will notify your esteemed guest as soon as possible." Upon hearing this, the eyebrows behind the mask furrowed, and the clenched fist hidden in the black robe also loosened, saying, "When you find it, I will bring you what you want." After speaking, my body leaped and flew out of the window. "Someone here. What's wrong, boss? Everyone go out and find me the trace of the snake woman in the painting." "Yes." When Chen Mo woke up from his coma, there was a faint pain all over his body like a needle prick. Chen Mo opened his eyes and noticed something was wrong. He looked down and suddenly noticed that there were two jade arms embracing him, with a soft squeezing sensation behind his back. Chen Mo was slightly taken aback. He raised his arm to remove the hand that Butterfly had placed on his waist, but he didn't expect the latter to sleep deeply. When Chen Mo's hand was placed on her, Butterfly woke up directly. For a moment, both of them froze. For Chen Mo, although he couldn't see the butterfly, he could still feel whether the other person was awake or not. Cough, cough. Chen Mo let out a dry cough and released Butterfly's hand to avoid making her think she was taking advantage of her. He explained, "Well, I need to get up." "Ah, oh." Butterfly was startled at first sight. Last night, she hadn't felt anything yet. At this moment, the other person woke up. When Butterfly looked again, her face immediately turned red with embarrassment. She quickly released Chen Mo and stood up. However, seeing the injury behind Chen Mo's back, he bent down and reached out his hand, "I'll help you up." "Okay." Chen Mo didn't show any courtesy to her either. Butterfly supported Chen Mo up, and the latter turned around. At the moment when the two of them looked at each other, Butterfly instantly lowered her head and her face turned even redder. She didn't know what she was thinking either. After finishing her thoughts last night, she returned to the cave and, to her surprise, hugged Chen Mo again. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Chen Mo. To ease the embarrassment in her heart, Butterfly pointed behind Chen Mo and said, "Why did you suddenly have 2 tattoos on your back? It's like golden wings." Last night, it was dark and Butterfly hadn't noticed yet. When she woke up just now, she realized that Chen Mo had 2 palm-sized golden tattoos on his back. Golden wings. Chen Mo was momentarily stunned, but then remembered the Kunpeng wings he had practiced last night and murmured, "Is it Kunpeng wings?" Chen Mo looked inside and found that 2 small branches had opened up behind him. His fighting spirit moved with his heart and rushed into the 2 small branches that had opened up. Receiving the transmission of fighting spirit, in an instant, the golden wing tattoo immediately released a faint golden radiance, and in the end, it turned into tangible wings. Moreover, the area of golden wings has expanded from the size of a palm to nearly 1 foot. You have grown wings. Butterfly was surprised, her jade hand covering her red lips. She, who has amnesia, still cannot understand these things. This is flying combat. Chen Mo looked curiously at the golden wings, which were like flames. With a gentle flick of control, a small buoyancy emerged beneath him. Chen Mo's body was lifted 1 centimeter off the ground. Chen Mo controlled to fly higher, but the flight was a bit clumsy and needed more practice. Chen Mo grinned, and from now on, he has a way to save his life. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Breakthrough and Exposure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Breakthrough and Exposure. Chen Mo retracted the wings of Kunpeng and silently opened the attribute panel. Name: Chen Mo, Race: Human Race, Cultivation. Doushi Xing, Host Level. LV1, 29/100, Binding Goddess. Butterfly, Favorite, 29, Favorite reaches 100, can become a Taoist couple. Practice. Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju, Skill. Kunpeng Wings, can be advanced, Bloodline. Normal, Favorite coin. 6. Chen Mo's heart twitched, and now his favoritism had already reached 29. It had only been a day, and if it continued like this, he would probably be able to hold the beauty back in a few days. Chen Mo glanced at his backpack again. There are still 2 moments of enlightenment and a burning incense stick. Due to not being able to start a fire during the day, Chen Mo had a portion of raw fish slices with butterfly in the morning and then stepped into cultivation. Chen Mo closed his eyes and was in a meditative state, his consciousness immersed in the divine level technique. Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju. Evolved from the chaos of the sage view. It can transform a person into a mirror like water and moon, with the moon in the sky and shadows in the water. Although one can see it, there is no place to search for it. After completing this method, no one can master it, and every thought and movement contains the philosophy of heaven and earth. This cultivation method is divided into 9 levels. First level. Chen Mo started practicing according to the first mnemonic. In the lower abdomen, the cyclone rapidly moved, and the fighting energy between heaven and earth around it surged into Chen Mo's body with the rotation of the cyclone, passing through the meridians and then merging into the cyclone. After spinning continuously for more than 10 weeks, time arrived in the afternoon and Chen Mo suddenly opened his eyes. You're done with your cultivation. The butterfly, bored with drawing circles on the ground with a branch, stood up and exclaimed excitedly when it saw Chen Mo finally move. Not yet, Chen Mo replied. Oh, butterfly pouted and sat down disappointed. It's stuck. If Chen Mo's cyclone is compared to a water tank, the energy he absorbs is equivalent to a bucket of water. This cultivation speed is too fast. This also made Chen Mo marvel at the power of this Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju. This has only been a few hours. But if you practice too quickly, you will naturally get stuck. According to Chen Mo, who has read thousands of fantasy novels, he roughly understood that he should have encountered a bottleneck. This involuntarily made Chen Mo take a breath of cold air. It's only been a while since he broke through to the star of Doushi, and he's about to break through again. Based on the experience gained from the novel, to break through the bottleneck, there are 2 factors. Personal talent and background resources. These 2 are easy to understand. In addition, there is another type, which is enlightenment. An epiphany is a situation that can be encountered but not sought after, entirely dependent on personal luck and fate. But that's for ordinary people. Chen Mo is a cheater. Chen Mo quickly extracted the time for the realization of a stick of incense. In an instant, a wonderful feeling fell from the sky. His head became unprecedentedly ethereal, with countless spiritual lights flashing wildly in his mind. It's like a dredged canal, waiting for the water to flow through. There is no need to deliberately cultivate. The supreme Hunyuan technique has already begun to operate within his body, and the slowly flowing fighting spirit around him is now rushing into Chen Mo's body like a stream of water. He has only been fighting for a star, and the cyclone is not big, and the fighting spirit in his body is not strong. However, at this moment, there is a feeling of a river collapsing, flowing incessantly, with a visible speed increasing. At the same time, between heaven and earth. The incredibly powerful energy of heaven and earth surged into the canyon and cave. If there were powerful Dohuang warriors here, they would definitely be able to perceive that such a powerful energy from heaven and earth, even if Doling broke through, could not reach this level. It's dangerous. Chen Mo's face darkened slightly. He never expected that the supreme Hunyuan technique would be so powerful. Just the first level made his body feel like a black hole, constantly devouring the surrounding energy. Such a massive movement will definitely attract the attention of those searching for butterflies. It seems that the speed has accelerated. Chen Mo turned the first level of the Tai Shang Hun Yuan technique to the extreme. Time passes by bit. And far away. A middle-aged man searching for the snake woman in the portrait suddenly turned his gaze to a canyon not far from him. There, the rolling energy of heaven and earth rushes towards the canyon. The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows, put away his portrait, and rushed towards the canyon. At the same time, another team discovered this strange celestial phenomenon. Almost, we're coming. Although Chen Mo had already executed the Tai Shang Hun Yuan Ju to the extreme, in this situation, he still instinctively exerted all his strength to urge it. Another moment passed. Chen Mo seemed to hear a faint sound inside his body, as if something had been punctured. The originally restrained fighting spirit instantly seemed like a river breaking its embankment, starting to surge again, but the volume of the cyclone that could accommodate the fighting spirit increased by a full circle compared to before. Do Shi Er Xing suddenly became like this. The bottleneck that a normal cultivator should have had suddenly became a decoration. What are you doing? Suddenly, his body was lifted up by Chen Mo's waist, and his head rushed into Chen Mo's arms before he could react. Especially, his buttocks and armpits were tightly supported by him, causing Butterfly to panic and her heartbeat to accelerate a lot. The snake tail of the butterfly is very long, and Chen Mo can only hold it with a princess. Ding, liking +1, get 1 liking coin, trigger intimacy bonus, and obtain yellow level intermediate combat skill. Xianlei Palm. What? Chen Mo didn't have time to doubt and said to Dai, hurry up and leave, this position is exposed. After speaking, he accelerated and rushed out of the canyon cave. Kid, put that snake girl down for me, a rough mining voice sounded from not far from the canyon. The butterfly's face changed and it came towards itself again. Boom! A pair of golden wings about half a meter long were ejected from behind Chen Mo. Without hesitation, Chen Mo picked up a butterfly and soared into the sky. Although it was a bit shaky to fly, he couldn't control so much anymore. At the prompt of the system, that person is a big fighter, and Chen Mo is no match. Do Wang. Please spare your life, senior. I have eyes. At the moment when Chen Mo displayed his golden wings, the middle-aged man suddenly knelt down in fear, desperately begging for mercy. Seeing the delay in responding, the middle-aged man looked up and saw that Chen Mo and his companions were no longer in sight ahead. The middle-aged man was taken aback and immediately realized that it was not a fighting king at all, but a rare flying combat skill. MD, dare to play with me. The middle-aged man chased after him angrily. In the yellow sand. A mercenary squad was heading towards the canyon when suddenly a piercing sound sounded from above. One mercenary exclaimed in surprise, "Boss, there's someone in the sky." "It's the snake woman in the portrait," said another mercenary, recognizing the person they were looking for. "Indeed, it's that snake girl. The mercenary captain was a gloomy man in his 30s, with a cultivation in the 4-star Doushi. Dookie wings. Boss, what should we do? That person seems to be Do Wang. No, that's not fighting spirit, wings. Hurry up and shoot the arrows. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Cloud Tour Steps. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Cloud Tour Steps. The cloudy man was fortunate enough to have met the Do King and noticed that the Do King's fighting spirit wings were significantly different from those of the young man in the sky now. Moreover, judging from the explosive aura of the youth, it was at the level of a fighting master. There is only one possibility, that the young man has rare flying skills. A glimmer of greed flashed in the eyes of the gloomy man. If he had acquired this fighting skill, his strength would have multiplied. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Arrows shot rapidly towards Chen Mo and the others. Be careful. Butterfly panicked. Chen Mo was not yet proficient in the wings of the Kunpeng, and he held onto a butterfly, unable to make an empty move. In addition, using the wings of the Kunpeng required a considerable amount of fighting spirit. So, looking at the sharp arrows shooting rapidly, Chen Mo found it very difficult to dodge, with several of them rubbing against his body. Fortunately, some of the combative gauze clothes were present and not injured. And this also confirms the conjecture of the cloudy man, which is indeed flying combat skills. Hurry up, don't stop, shoot me. Shoot on time. I received a heavy reward for shooting him down. Shoo, shoo, shoo. The mercenaries drew their long bows and swiftly shot arrows towards Chen Mo and the others, one after another, covering the sky and the ground. Damn it! Chen Mo's face was gloomy, and he could only use his full body fighting energy to fan Kunpeng's wings with all his might, forcefully pulling himself up and flying out of the range of the bow and arrow. And the consequence of doing so was that Chen Mo's back injury suddenly burst open, and blood completely dyed the bandage made of the short sleeves red. Are you injured? Butterfly listened to Chen Mo take a cold breath and immediately looked up to find that his eyebrows were tightly furrowed together, as if enduring great pain. No, the wound should have collapsed, be careful. Chen Mo was speaking when suddenly a sharp arrow shot towards the butterfly's tail. Chen Mo quickly flipped his body and moved a part of it downwards. Don't, Dai seemed to anticipate what Chen Mo wanted to do and screamed. Immediately, the sharp arrow hit Chen Mo's back and was shaken out by Duki Shai. Ding, favoritism +3, obtain 1 wash marrow pill. Trigger intimacy bonus, obtain yellow level advanced combat skill. Cloud walk. MD, a bunch of trash, bring a bow. The gloomy man watched as Chen Mo and the others were about to fly out of range, kicking the nearby mercenary down and snatching the bow and arrow from his hand. Pull the long bow full, inject all the fighting spirit into the arrow, aim at Chen Mo, and lift your fingers off the string. Boom! The arrow of Li Xian burst out with a strong gust of wind in the air, roaring towards Chen Mo. You scared me to death. Butterfly was still worried about the arrow just now. Puzzy. Suddenly, a sharp arrow rushed from behind, and Chen Mo noticed it. He was about to dodge, only to find that this arrow was different from the others. The speed and explosive power are several times that of other sharp arrows. Chen Mo's body tilted to one side, but it was still too late. The sharp arrow pierced directly through the wings of the Kunpeng behind him. Chen Mo instantly lost his composure. Chen Mo quickly descended, but not long after, Kunpeng's wings retracted inside his body, and the two of them fell in a straight line. The boss is powerful, the boss is domineering. The boss is still powerful, he shot them down with just one arrow. The mercenaries flattered and said. The gloomy man smiled, but shouted sternly, don't flatter me, chase me. Hold me tight. Chen Mo spoke to the butterfly in his arms, then spread out his hands, increased the descent resistance, and vigorously opened his eyes to find a good landing position. Finally, seeing a higher sand dune, try to land towards it as much as possible. Bang! Chen Mo landed first. Although there was a soft yellow sand below that could fall from nearly 10 meters in the air, it still shook all the internal organs, causing the wound to crack even wider and a large amount of fresh blood to seep out. But Kudai thought it was nothing, crying and looked at Chen Mo, asking if he was okay. You go first. Chen Mo struggled to get up. If he had been in his past life, he would have been seriously injured if he had not been at this height, but now he realized that he had only suffered a minor injury. I haven't even broken a bone, it's just a bit uncomfortable. It seems that this Duki gauze garment is quite durable. No, we need to walk together. Butterfly saw a large amount of blood oozing from behind Chen Mo, thinking he had been seriously injured, and immediately burst into tears of sadness. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Let's go, where are you going today? Not far behind, the cold cheers of the gloomy man mixed with fighting spirit echoed through the sky and earth like the roar of a lion. Before long, the mercenaries behind him surrounded Chen Mo and the others. Do Shi Si Xing. Upon hearing the system prompt, Chen Mo looked at the gloomy man with a solemn expression. Kid, if you're sensible, just hand over the snake girl next to you and your flying skills. Maybe I can spare your life. The cloudy man waved at Chen Mo and sneered. Who are you? Why do all of you want to catch me? Why? Butterfly opened her hands and blocked Chen Mo's body, shouting loudly. Why? Just because you are a snake, you are already in opposition to our human race. The Yin man licked his lips towards the butterfly, with a hint of warmth in his eyes. He chuckled inwardly and said, it's really top-notch. No wonder the employer spent a lot of money catching you. DGAO's body trembled slightly, but she didn't take a step back. She stood in front of Chen Mo and said in a trembling voice, what you want is me. You let him go. I will definitely release it, after all, I have no grudges against him, but the premise is that he has to hand over his flying skills to me. The Yin man played with his taste. That's right, hand it over. The mercenaries around cheered along. The butterfly suddenly felt helpless, rubbing the pendant around its neck with both hands for a moment before taking it off and saying, can I exchange this with you? Upon hearing these words, the gloomy man was taken aback and immediately burst into laughter. It was the first time he had seen such an innocent snake woman. Butterfly was somewhat surprised, not knowing why he laughed. Suddenly, her jade hand was grabbed, and Chen Mo walked up to her and said, don't give it to him. But. I said I will protect you. Chen Mo wiped away the tears from Butterfly's face. Butterfly's face turned red, and a ripple rippled in her heart. She worried and said, but it's your injury. Chen Mo pulled the butterfly behind him and said, it can hold on. Ding, favorite +2, get 2 favorite coins. Trigger the hand-in-hand bonus to gain mastery of footwork. Chen Mo's eyes lit up as he released Butterfly's hand and gestured towards the gloomy man. If you want it, come and get it. The gloomy man's face darkened. If you want a hero to save the beauty, it also depends on whether you have the strength, give me it. The gloomy man waved his hand and the mercenaries around him immediately surrounded Chen Mo. Chen Mo-chang took a breath and went to his backpack to retrieve the cloud walk. With a wave of memory flooding into my mind. With proficient footwork, Chen Mo directly used it. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Life and Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Life and Death. The black and white fighting spirit quickly covered the body, with wisps of smoke gradually forming at the feet. With a fierce stomp on the ground, Chen Mo's figure surged out and rushed into the besieged group of mercenaries. Among these people, only those with 7 or 8 stars, Chen Mo really didn't pay attention to them. 5 fingers clenched their fists, and black and white energy surged rapidly, then slammed heavily into the chest of the mercenary who was charging at the front. Bang! The power of Doushi Air Xing directly blasted him away, and even threw several mercenaries behind him onto the ground and overturned their horses. Then Chen Mo's body shot out again, and with a few punches, the mercenary who was charging at the front was blown up and spewed blood uncontrollably. And these mercenaries couldn't even touch Chen Mo's body. In just a few rounds, there are only 3 mercenaries who can still stand up. "Be careful," the butterfly exclaimed in surprise. At this moment, the faint sound of breaking the wind came from behind, causing Chen Mo to quickly turn around. When he saw that it was a cloudy man, Chen Mo couldn't help but be surprised. With a cloud-like stride, the toes kicked on the ground and the speed suddenly skyrocketed, quickly distancing themselves from the shadowy man. What a fast speed! Looking at Chen Mo's surging speed, the gloomy man's face changed and he immediately felt a bit unbelievable. With the strength of his 4-star wind attribute Doushi, he was able to open up a distance with the strength of his explosive 2-star Doushi after launching a body method combat technique surprise attack. It seems that his body movements and fighting skills are also advanced. There are quite a few good things. I will kill you today. A fierce killing intent surged on the face of the gloomy man. There's so much nonsense. Chen Mo was the first to punch forward. The reason why he dares to fight the Yin man is because of the Supreme Hunyuan technique, which has divine-level martial arts. The 2 lower levels I have, shouldn't it be excessive? Humph. Seeing Chen Mo take the initiative to attack him, the gloomy man snorted coldly and punched in front of him. Suddenly, a gust of wind appeared in front of him out of thin air, then surged out and finally clashed with Chen Mo's fist. Bang! The fierce collision between the two directly lifted up the yellow sand around them. Scratching, Chen Mo remained motionless, while the gloomy man stepped back 2 or 3 steps. How could it be? For the first time fighting against Chen Mo, the gloomy man's face changed and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Although he didn't use all his strength, how could the other party, as a 2-star fighter, repel him? Chen Mo also had a surprise in his eyes. He could really surpass his level, kid, although I don't know how you did it, it's over here. A faint blue wind appeared on the shadowy man's fist, and with a step of his foot, his body shot out with a fierce smile on his face. Jia your mother, you big-headed ghost. Chen Mo cursed and used his cloud walk to dodge, procrastinating while extracting the Xianlei palm and the enlightenment incense from his system backpack. With a surge of memory flooding into his mind, Chen Mo became instantly transparent with the help of Epiphany. Kid, don't hide. Chen Mo's dirty words turned the gloomy and masculine face of the pursuer pale with iron. Chen Mo ignored him. But instead, he immersed his consciousness in his mind, practicing the cultivation methods of Xianlei palm one by one, like a villain, in Chen Mo's mind. But not long after, the remaining 3 mercenaries who were still standing blocked Chen Mo's escape path. Kid, how are you still running this time? Hand over something and let you die happily. The gloomy man blocked the other side of Chen Mo's retreat. Come and get it. Chen Mo waved at the gloomy man, and a faint smile appeared on his handsome face. Looking at the young man who suddenly calmed down, the gloomy man frowned slightly and sneered, pretend to be a god and play tricks. The shadowy man stepped on the ground with his foot, his body shot out wildly, and his fighting spirit quickly surged inside his body. Then he surged into his own fist and slammed it towards Chen Mo's face. Huang Jia intermediate fighting skill, falling wind fist. Do you have fighting skills? I do too. Chen Mo raised his palm, and a faint lightning arc appeared in the palm. As the lightning arcs increased, Chen Mo's palm seemed to have changed color, and his entire body was silver white. Xianlei palm. Chen Mo let out a loud shout and roared up. What, Lei Fa? As the gloomy man's heart shook, the two of them roared together, a thunderous roar exploding in the sky and earth. Don't. Seeing this scene, Butterfly's worried tears streamed down her face. Boom. With the sound of thunder falling, a silver thunderbolt exploded directly on the body of the shadowy man, and yellow sand splashed into the sky. Then, a shadow suddenly shot out from the yellow sand and plunged into the sand, retreating for about 10 meters before slowly stopping. The mercenaries looked at them and immediately took a cold breath. It turned out that the figure shot out backwards was actually their leader. Everyone swallowed their saliva, and the 3 mercenaries who were still standing quickly went over to help. A dosher with only 2 stars of strength can make a 4-star dosher who has used the intermediate Huangjie Do technique so embarrassed. The yellow sand in the sky fell completely, and Chen Mo's figure slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Chen Mo's face was pale, with one hand propped on yellow sand and his body weak. This temporary use of fighting skills drained most of his fighting energy. After coughing violently, Chen Mo stared coldly at the mercenaries around him, with the same intimidating gaze as before. The 3 of them shifted their gaze in fear and avoided each other. Taking advantage of scaring them, Chen Mo secretly operated the Supreme Hunyuan technique to replenish his fighting spirit. Kill him, take action. The gloomy man rudely pushed away the mercenary who was supporting him. His fists and tiger mouths were already shattered, and blood almost soaked his sleeves. His face had an almost crazy ferocity. At such a young age, he possesses such powerful abilities and rare flying skills, and his background should not be underestimated. Such enemies must not allow him to leave alive. Kill him, he's running out of fuel and the lamp is running dry. The cloudy man saw that his subordinates were still hesitating, and immediately let out a loud shout. Upon hearing these words, the 3 mercenaries who were still standing had to charge towards Chen Mo. Be careful, Butterfly quickly shouted. Chen Mo's face darkened, and he could only mobilize the remaining fighting energy in his body to resist. The saying goes that a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. No matter how weak Chen Mo is, it is not something that a mere fighter can defeat. The cloudy man clearly knew about this situation. Just as Chen Mo was fighting with mercenaries, he suddenly took out a crossbow arrow from his ring, loaded it with poison arrows, and fired it towards Chen Mo. Perhaps it was due to Tiger Mouth's injury, his poisoned arrow was shot crooked and even aimed at the butterfly. Be careful. Chen Mo's face changed as he exerted all his strength to fly 3 mercenaries and rushed towards Butterfly. P.S. The signing status has been changed, starting from today, there will be at least 2 chapters per day. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Immortal Temperament, Top Charm. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Immortal Temperament, Top Charm, Puzzle. The poisonous arrow shot towards the butterfly fiercely into Chen Mo's back. Suddenly, a figure let out a deep cry of pain and fell into the embrace of the butterfly. Blood soaked Chen Mo's back. Blood droplets gushed out from Chen Mo's mouth, staining the entire body of the butterfly. Butterfly stared blankly at this scene, her whole body froze, and couldn't help but recall the scene she had spent with Chen Mo before. Tears couldn't stop falling as she looked up and cried bitterly, no. Ding, favorite +1, get 1 favorite coin. Trigger intimate bonus, and gain proficiency in first-level medicine refining technique. Ding, liking +1, get a liking coin. Trigger an intimacy bonus, and get a Sky Thunder Blood Eagle Beast Fire at the Emperor level. Ding, liking +1, get 1 liking coin. Trigger intimacy bonus, get 1 Star Do Emperor experience card. Ding, liking +1, get 1 liking coin. Trigger intimacy bonus, get 1 detoxification pill. Ding, liking +1, get 1 liking coin. Trigger intimacy bonus, and gain 1 level of cultivation improvement. Ding, trigger intimacy bonus 10 times in a row to obtain Qiankuan sword body, can be advanced, woo woo, Chen Mo, it's all me. I've implicated you, please don't die. Dai didn't dare to pull out the poison arrow, but instead blocked the bleeding area of the wound, heartbroken. Cough, I can't die. If I don't leave yet, I really have to die here. Chen Mo coughed up 2 mouthfuls of blood and smiled pale. Ah, Chen Mo, you're okay. You scared me to death. Let's go now. Butterfly's eyes were swollen with tears, and she was sobbing. Seeing the mercenaries being beaten to the ground by Chen Mo, she hurriedly helped Chen Mo up and left towards the distance. A group of trash, why don't you get up and chase me? That kid got hit by my poison arrow and can't run far. The cloudy man roared. Manipulating his shaky body and running through the yellow sand, Chen Mo felt increasingly tired and his eyelids were also fighting. Not long after, I couldn't hold on to the confusion in front of me. After walking a distance, my feet softened and I fell directly. Butterfly kept saying that she wanted Chen Mo to hold on and not sleep. At the moment Chen Mo fell, her whole body also fell along with it. Chen Mo's body was already at its limit, and with such a fall, his eyes turned black and he finally fell into a complete coma. But what he didn't know was that at the moment of unconsciousness, he bumped into a soft spot and trembled. Butterfly let out a whimper, ignoring the position where Chen Mo's head was in contact. She lightly patted his face and called out, "Wake up, wake up." Seeing that he couldn't wake up, Butterfly couldn't help but panic. She touched his forehead and could feel his skin burning hot, obviously with a fever. She instinctively glanced at the wound of Chen Mo's arrow and found it pitch black. That arrow is poisonous. Butterfly looked surprised, and tears couldn't stop flowing out. It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have been hit by this arrow. Why are you so foolish? Butterfly, full of self-blame, glanced at the mercenary who might come after her at any moment, gritted her teeth, picked up Chen Mo on her back, and continued to escape. But what she didn't even know was that there seemed to be something in her body about to wake up, and her escape speed also increased significantly. Ding, favoritism +2, obtain a first-grade pill called Revitalizing Chi Pill. It's impossible, a seriously injured fighter and a snake girl who doesn't know how to fight, how could they disappear? The shadowed man heard his subordinate's response, his face grim, and he roared. Boss, it's true. When we catch up, we really didn't see those 2 figures, the reporting mercenary said nervously. I didn't see it, can't they still fly? The gloomy man roared angrily. Where did the 2 people you mentioned go? Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of the shadowy man and his companions, with a rough voice. In the slumber of darkness, Chen Mo felt a vague sensation as something pulled out of his body. He instinctively snorted and then something sucked from behind. He can only vaguely know, but cannot break free from this darkness and see what has happened. Pooh, the butterfly crouched behind Chen Mo, with its red lips pressed against his back, sucking away the toxic blood accumulated in the wound and spitting it out in one gulp. After several rounds of back and forth, when the poisonous blood was completely sucked out, the butterfly carefully groped behind him, confirming that only this arrow injury and the previous knife injury were present. Butterfly tore off a corner of Chen Mo's black pants and wrapped it up for him. And the material of her short skirt is obviously not suitable. After treating the injury, Dai washed the bloody bandage and wiped it off Chen Mo's body one by one. Butterfly wiped it very carefully, looking at it very carefully. First, she started from the corner of Chen Mo's mouth, wiped away the dry blood stains on the corner of his mouth, and then wiped Chen Mo's face. This is the first time that Butterfly has appreciated Chen Mo's face so closely. Although it was also very close last time, it was too dark to see anything at all. His face is incredibly handsome, with distinct facial features like sculptures. The deep starry eyes under his sword eyebrows are full of charm, making people easily fall in. Perhaps it was Chen Mo's previous performances that made Dai couldn't help but think about it. If it weren't for touching its hot skin, the butterfly would still stare. After wiping Chen Mo's face, I wiped his back again. When wiping his back, Butterfly washed the bandage more than 10 times, and the blood and water twisted out made Butterfly feel heartbroken. After everything was finished, Butterfly vaguely heard Chen Mo say, "Water, water." Butterfly quickly picked up a splash of water and brought it to Chen Mo's mouth. But here comes the problem. How to drink it? Chen Mo never woke up, his mouth closed. Butterfly looked at it for a moment, hesitated for a moment, and then she lightly bit her red lips with her teeth, deciding to come down. First, he took a sip of water and held it in his mouth without swallowing it. Then, he lifted his long hair and leaned against Chen Mo's mouth, kissing him. Ding, liking +1, get a liking coin. Trigger a kiss bonus, get a banished fairy temperament, and have top level charm. After Butterfly left Chen Mo's lips, her face turned red and hot, and she even kissed him. Taking a deep glance at Chen Mo, he thought that the little water he had just had might not be enough, so he took another sip, took it in his mouth, and kissed it. Now, I shouldn't be thirsty anymore, right? Touching Chen Mo's still hot body, a hint of shyness flashed in Dai's eyes. She thought about the cooling method from last night and leaned against Chen Mo's back again, holding him tightly. After an unknown amount of time, Chen Mo finally broke through the darkness of his consciousness and opened his eyes hazily. At the entrance, there is a spacious cave with only small gaps on its walls, from which light shines in. I slightly moved my numb body and suddenly heard the sound of water ticking. I turned my head and saw a small puddle not far away. In the crevice above the water pit, there are drops of water dripping down. End of this chapter.